Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 4.1 Notes. Today we're talking about solving and graphing inequalities. Our learning target today is to be able to solve and graph inequalities with variables on one side. So we've got some basic inequalities information down here. Now the translation part, you guys should be familiar with all of those. That's old stuff. That's stuff that we're reviewing. Now, everything on the right over here, because now we're talking about graphing, is going to be new. Okay, so let's review some of these things. So our symbol right there is less than, you know that. Now when you have to graph that, we're going to shade to the left, and it's going to have an open point. And you might be like, Mr. Grice, I have no idea what that means right now. That's okay. Don't worry about that. Next one, our symbol is less than or equal to. We shade to the left, and it has a closed point. Now, as you guys are writing some of this down, a couple things I want you to notice right away is less than. Less means left. Okay. And another thing that we can look at, when it's or equal to, or when that line's down, it means it's a closed point, and we're going to see the same thing on the is greater than or equal to. Okay? So, next one is greater than. Greater. We're going to shade to the right. That happens with both of those. And the same thing when it's a or equal to, it's a closed point, and when there's nothing there, it's an open point. Now, if you need to continue to write some of those down, just pause the video, otherwise I'm going to scroll down. Okay, so rules for graphing. First one, the variable must always be on the left side of the inequality. Always, always, always. Okay? And another thing, that each graph should contain at least 5 integers. But like 5 integers, what the heck is Mr. Grice talking about? Just hold on, we'll go through all of that. Okay? So, as we're graphing this, the first thing that we need to pay attention to is what's our symbol. Okay? It's left and less than. And remember that less means left. Okay? Now, I know that we're going to shade to the left, and it's going to be an open point. So when we have to graph it, you're going to draw a little number line yourself. We're always going to put the number that we see right here, 2, that's going to be in the middle. And then I go 2 numbers above and 2 numbers below. Okay, so what we said was that it was a open point, right? So it's open, and that we shade to the left. What that means is that x can be any number less than 2. It could be 1, it could be 0, it could be negative 356, it could be 1.3. Anything less than 2 is what x equals. And just remember, when we're graphing, we want to have a nice arrow so we know that that goes on and on forever. Okay? All right, number 2. Now, rule number 1 says the variable needs to be on the left side. So the first thing I know is that we have to flip. I'm going to bring the y on the left side, the -3 on the right side, and I need to look at that symbol. Who is it pointing at? It's pointing at the -3, right? So I need to make sure that it stays pointing at the -3. All right? So that symbol is greater than or equal to means that we shade to the right and it's closed. So I'm going to draw my number line. Now, -3 is in the middle. I go 2 numbers higher, which is -2 and -1, and then -4 and -5. Now, I shade to the right and it's closed. So a closed point means I draw the circle in, and then I shade to the right, and I make sure that I have an arrow. Okay, number 3. I have a is less than or equal to 5/2. Now, we said that, hey, fractions are great. Yeah, fractions are great when we're talking about graphing with our slopes. I'm not graphing with a slope. So what I need to do is find out what does that mean. So 5/2, that really means what? Well, if you don't know, take out your calculator. Okay, mine's all warmed up. I'm in a screen I don't need to be. I'm quitting that. I'm clearing all that old information. 5 divided by 2. There we go. We get 2.5. Okay, and now that I know that, look at our symbol, is less than or equal to. So that means that we shade to the left. Oops. So we're shading to the left and that it's closed. Okay, so when it's in the middle like that, what we're going to do is first draw your number line. Okay, and I know that it's going to be in between 2 and 3. All right, so as I draw it, I know it's closed at 2.5. I'm going to do the best that I can, and then it's everything to the left. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one say that I need to write the inequality that that's represented in the graph. Okay, so let's look at this graph. The things that I need to know is what direction it's shaded. It's shaded to the right, and is that open or closed? Closed. So if you need to, look back up here. Which one do we shade to the right and has a closed point? Well, the ones that are shaded to the right are these two, but shaded to the right and has a closed point. There's our symbol. It's got to meet both criteria. Okay? So as I'm writing this, I know that x is greater than or equal to, and then our number, -5. Why don't you see if you can do number 5 all on your own. Pause the video and good luck. Okay, so you should have gotten that x is less than 4. All right, we have to shade to the left, and it's open. So that's why it's just is less than. Okay, next part, solving inequalities. When we are solving the inequalities, we have to use SADMAP. Okay, and our new rule is we have to flip the inequality symbol if you multiply or divide by a negative. So let's look at some examples. Okay, so there are my 2 examples. Now, the first one, I need to solve for x because the x isn't by itself. So what that means is I have to divide by a -2, divide by a -2, and as soon as I'm dividing, I have to flip that sign. Okay? Now, the x is all by itself, and 4 divided by -2 is, that's right, -2. So x is greater than -2. Okay, our non-example. to get the x by itself, I would do the same thing. I'm dividing, but I'm dividing by a positive. I'm not dividing by a negative, so nothing changes. And then we can just write our answer of x is less than -2. Okay? You have to be careful with your signs. Okay. Now, let's go through some of these. It says in the directions that we need to solve and graph the following inequalities. All right, number 6. Now, just like in graphing, I'm going to draw the line down the middle so we can see our two sides. I want to get the x by itself. I'm following the rules of SADMAP. We have a +6, and to get the x by itself, I would subtract 6. And we get that x is less than or equal to -4. Now, I did not multiply or divide by a negative number, so I can just start and graph. There's -4. I go 2 numbers above and 2 numbers below. Now, it's less than, so I shade to the left, and it's or equal to, which means it's a closed point. So I'm going to close my point and shade to the left. All right, number 7. Okay, I want to get my variable by itself. Right now it's being multiplied by 3, so to get the 3m by itself, I'm going to divide by 3. Now I'm dividing by a positive, so nothing changes. I don't flip my sign or any of that. -18 divided by 3 is -6. Okay, so -6 goes in the middle, 2 numbers above, and 2 numbers below. Now it's greater than, which means we shade to the right, and it's going to be an open point. Okay, so open point at -6, and I shade to the right. All right, number 8. Okay, so let's start by drawing the line down the middle. Okay, so we're going to solve for m, following the rules of, that's right, SADMAP. So first thing we need to do is get rid of addition or subtraction. We have a +1 right there, so I need to subtract 1 to both sides. 13 minus 1 is 12, so we have 12 is less than 4m. Now, the m is not by itself yet, so I'm going to divide by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and we have 3 is less than m. Now, what side is the variable on? Yeah, the variable's on the right side, and I need it on the left, so we're going to need to rewrite this. So when I rewrite this, the m is on the left, the 3 is on the right, and who is the inequality pointing to? Well, it's pointing at the 3, so I need to make sure it stays pointing at the 3. Okay, so this is saying m is greater than 3, which means I shade to the right, and it's open. Two numbers above and 2 numbers below, open, and I shade to the right. Okay, any questions so far? Hopefully you guys are doing okay. All right, starting with number 9. So number 9, draw the line down the middle. Now, to get the y by itself with a fraction, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. and I'm multiplying by a, that's right, I'm multiplying by a negative. So what that means is we're going to have to flip that sign, okay? So the y is all by itself, and now we have to do 8 times, what was it, negative 3/4? I'm double checking. Yep, negative 3/4. So I'm multiplying by a negative 3/4, and we get negative 6. Okay, why don't you guys pause the video and see if you can graph that all on your own. Okay, so it was right and it was closed because y is greater than or equal to negative 6. And there we go. All right, number 10. Start by drawing the line down the middle. And remember that we're following the rules of SADMAP. So I need to subtract 1 to both sides. And we have negative 2m is greater than negative 33 minus 1 is negative 34. Now, to get the m by itself, I need to divide, and I'm dividing by a what? That's right, I'm dividing by a negative, which means we have to flip the sign. Okay, so the m is still on the left. Negative 34 divided by negative 2 is a positive 17. Okay, so 17 goes in the middle. I go 2 numbers above and 2 numbers below. Okay, it's less than, which means we shade to the left, and it's open. Okay, number 11. Okay, I do see that the variable's on the right side, so we're going to have to rewrite this at the very end. But let's work on solving this. Okay, so we have to subtract the 8 to both sides. 7 minus 8 is negative 1. And then we have x divided by 4. So to get that x all by itself, I have to multiply by 4. It's a positive 4, so there's no flipping or anything involved. So we have negative 4 is less than x. And then we need to, we have to rewrite this. Okay, so let's see if you can do this part all on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so we get our final answer of x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Forgot, guys, that this is our final answer. Sorry, Mr. Grice was slacking a little bit. And then there's our graph. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to come back and make sure that all of my answers are circled and boxed. Okay? Yes, I'm even going to come back up here. You guys should do the same. Okay. Now, as you can tell, these are getting harder and harder as we keep going. So, you guys feel comfortable trying this one on your own? Why don't you give it a try? Pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so the first thing that we did was add 7 to both sides, divide by 3, and my variable's on the right-hand side, so I had to rewrite that. The variable, or the inequality symbol, was pointing at the W, so you got to make sure that it's still pointing at the W. And there's my graph. All right, number 13. Let's go ahead and draw the line down the middle. And that's right, we're going to subtract 5 to both sides. I have negative 3 divided by 2 times a is greater than or equal to 8 minus 5 is 3. Now, to get the a by itself, I have to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so I know that I'm multiplying by the reciprocal, so I have to flip that sign. A is all by itself. And then we have 3 times negative, was it negative 3 over 2 or was it negative 2 over 3? Negative 2 over 3. Okay, so I get to come back here. Negative 2 divided by 3. All right, and we get negative 2. My variable's on the left, which means I'm all done. And now I can graph it. Negative 2 in the middle. Okay, it's to the left and it's closed. Good. Closed, and we shade to the left. Ooh, 14. Look at that. What do we have on both sides on the right? Yeah, we've got like terms now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is combine our like terms. 2 minus 3 is negative 1x plus 1. Okay, let's get the x by itself. So we're going to subtract 1 to both sides. And we get 4 is less than negative 1x. To get the x by itself, I have to divide by a negative 1. And when I'm dividing by a negative, we have to flip the sign. 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4x. Now at this point we have to rewrite it because the x is on the wrong side. Okay, so it's pointing, the inequality is pointing at the negative 4, so I'm going to make sure it is still pointing at the negative 4. And we have x is greater than negative 4. Okay, 2 numbers to the left and 2 numbers to the right. That inequality tells me that we shade to the right and it's open. Okay, now with some of these last couple ones, I'm going to get you started, and you guys are going to solve them all on your own. Okay, so number 15. Number 15, we have like terms. So you need to combine your like terms and then go through and solve. Okay, so pause it, and then when you come back, the answer will be up. Okay, so we combine like terms, we get 6w minus 7. Add the 7 to both sides, divide by 6, and then we had to rewrite. And we get that it is right and closed. I had to make sure the inequality was pointing at the 3, so it's still pointing at the 3. And there we go. All right, number 16. Do you think you can do 16 all on your own without any help? Because the first thing we'd have to do is what? That's right, we'd have to distribute. Okay, so, well, I'll do the first one. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 2 is 6y. Okay, so here's my hint. You know what type of y that is, so make sure it's a negative, and you divide by a negative. Okay, so go ahead and pause it and finish it off. Okay, so we get y is less than 7y. Remember that when we divide, or y is less than 7, sorry, that when we divide by negative, we have to flip that sign. Okay, number 17. Once again, I'm only going to do the first step with you. Now, the first thing that we need to do is we're going to distribute. So we have negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Negative 2 times negative m is a positive 2m. Plus 3m is less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to 27. Okay, so see if you need to combine any like terms and then solve using SADMAP. Good luck. Okay, and there you go. So you get 5m minus 8 is greater than or equal to 27. So we add the 8 to both sides and divide by 5. And we get m is greater than or equal to 7. Okay, last one. Think you guys can do it all on your own? There's a lot to do to distributing. So let's do the distribution together and then see if you can do it all on your own. Okay, so we have to distribute the 4. And then we have to distribute the, negative sign. Okay, so negative 17 is less than or equal to 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is going to be negative 12y. And then we get negative 7. And a negative times a negative makes that a positive 15y. Okay, so the next thing to do would be to combine your like terms. All right, and I'm noticing that the y is on the right side, so you might have to rewrite it at the very end. Okay, go ahead and pause it, and good luck. Okay, so after combining like terms, you get 3y plus 1. Subtract the 1, divide by 3, and then we had to rewrite it. The inequality symbol was pointing at negative 6, so when I rewrote it, I made sure that it was still pointing at the negative 6. Okay, so it was right and closed. Now, that's going to be it for the notes. If you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, this is Mr. Grice signing off for Algebra 1, Unit 4.1 Notes. Thanks for watching.